British Spy Stories. Season 6. Counter-Strike. Episode 6. The dust in the air catches in the sunlight as it cascades into the Nicholas Winton meeting room on the first floor of the British Embassy in Prague. The sound of footsteps in the corridor outside precedes the door opening, and Gabby and Agent Talgarth walk in. They set their coffee cups down and take seats either side of a square oak table. "We need to work through the logic of this whole operation," says Gabby. "This is what we know." She counts out the points on the fingers of her left hand. 1. Orlov suddenly says he wants to defect. MI6 have no previous contact with him where he talked about defecting. 2. He is kidnapped within 24 hours of his defection. 3. We trace the kidnappers, and he is with them, but he runs. You, Ivy, continues Gabby, went to see him, posing as a journalist, and that visit triggered all of this string of events. Tell me how and why you ended up meeting him. I'm based in Vauxhall Cross, in a team that works with MI5, where we have common interests. One of the things we do is jointly run a schedule of routine contacts with members of diplomatic staff from the foreign embassies in London, who we suspect or know have some degree of unofficial intelligence gathering as part of their job. Orlov is not based in London, though, says Gabby. He's based in the SVR headquarters in Yazanevo, and therefore he wasn't on our routine meeting schedule. Who told you to visit him? Says Gabby. Talgarth shakes her head. I don't know. He just appeared in my work queue on Oberon. We'll need to get that investigated, says Gabby. Anything that is not routine, anything that deviates from normal practice in the world of espionage, is suspicious. I'll ask GCHQ to look into it. Do I need to do anything? Gabby shakes her head. Our next point for discussion is the kidnap, she says. 3 security guards were murdered in our trailing vehicle. The skills of the attackers and the E-bomb tells us that this was a highly organized and a professional hit. Talgarth nods. I want you to put together all the information you can find on people or organized terrorist groups who have the capacity to mount an attack like that. It required high explosive munitions capability, intelligence about the exact location of Orlov, and experienced mercenaries to carry out the attack itself. The whole thing could have been procured, you know. Like terrorism as a service, so to speak. Quite possibly, says Gabby. We need intel on where large funds have moved recently in the arms black market across Europe. She stands up and picks her coffee cup off the table. The key to the warehouse events is that Orlov ran. We need to know why. There's a whiteboard screwed to the end wall of the room, and Gabby beckons Talgarth to follow her as she walks over to it. She pulls the top off a marker pen and writes, "Why run?" at the top of the board, then turns to the woman. He was scared of us, says Talgarth. Maybe he didn't see it was us and thought it was the Russians. We weren't wearing masks, says Gabby. He saw our faces. But in the rush of the moment, if he's worried that someone's after him, running would be a knee-jerk reaction before the logic kicks in. Gabby writes a summary on the board. What else? He knew it was us, but didn't want to talk to us, says Ivy. Because? He's hiding something. What? Talgarth shakes her head. I have another option, says Gabby. Was it him? Talgarth screws up her eyebrows. Of course it was him. I saw him quite clearly. Tech Branch have full-face masks that are nearly indistinguishable from real human skin, particularly in a warehouse with poor lighting. How do we prove any of these possibilities? says Talgarth. Step by step. You do that research on the E-bombs. I'll talk to London and get them working on these other issues. As Gabby pushes out into the corridor, Ralph Boyd is coming the other way. Mom, have you finished with the pool Land Rover? He says. I'll get it cleaned and repaired. We may need it again, Ralph. Do you want the video footage? What video footage? From the cameras on it, he says. It has 6 cameras that auto-record. The digital tapes last 24 hours, then they're over-recorded. Ralph! Mum? You're a god. She kisses his cheek, and he looks uncomfortable. Ralph explains that the recordings can be copied onto a USB drive from a panel in the Defender, and the two of them drop down to the garage to recover the pictures. In the comms room, Gabby loads the videos into the machinery and presses play. There are 3 screens in the room. The films start from the moment that she turned the key in the car's ignition. Gabby fast-forwards through most of the journey, going to the warehouse site, stopping occasionally to inspect various sections of the footage, but there's nothing valuable, up to the point of their entry into the target building. Gabby sits back and watches the screens as the scenes play out. She sees her and Talgarth running away from the Land Rover and off into the building. Then she hears the sounds of gunfire as they attack the security guards. Then 5 minutes later she can see the Mercedes steaming past as Orlov escapes towards the back of the fence. Gabby sees herself running back to the Defender, and the images show the chase through the fence line and the warehouse, then out into the abandoned back streets. The film shows the cars emerging onto the road near the bridge, and the Mercedes making for the gap between the trams, at the last possible moment before the trams block the view of the Mercedes. One camera records a key piece of evidence: the number plate of Orlov's vehicle. Gabby immediately calls London Control. Agent Marlin is on duty. How can I help, Mum? I need a vehicle plate trace within Prague, Marlin. All movements within the last 24 hours. She dictates the number of the Mercedes. Have we got access to the traffic cameras in this city? Says Gabby. Not officially, says Marlin. Run the query, she says. It'll take 2 minutes. Gabby walks to the window that overlooks the city as she waits. Then Marlin's voice comes out of the speakers. Mum, we found it. Given Loxby's brief to embed herself as quickly as possible into the community of people at Tidworth Camp, she adopts a strategy of talking to everyone she meets. But more than that, she has decided to be disruptive and cause some waves in order to try and wheedle out any of the spies who may feel uncomfortable with changes to the status quo. Colonel Moore's number 2, Lieutenant Colonel Adrian Ragland, has short ginger hair. His green eyes sparkle as Loxby goes into his office and feigns ignorance about the arrangements for the strategy meeting this afternoon. Ragland is flirty and is only too happy to help her, even inviting her for a drink after work, or what he calls a bevy in the mess. At lunchtime, Lara tells Loxby that she'll show her where to get food, as it's her first day. At 12:30 they go to the shop on site. They both buy salmon salad and sit on the grass, in the sun trap, created by the white walls of the offices. How long have you worked here? Says Loxby. 3 years, says Lara. Tom and I were transferred together from Catterick in Yorkshire. He loves his tanks, and Tidworth is the centre of tanks for the British Army. So he was itching to come here. How did you meet? Online. Doesn't everyone these days? She says. I went to York Uni and stayed on afterwards, doing random jobs because I didn't know what to do. I went to York, says Loxby. then realizing that she's talking about her real life. In her cover life as Millie, she'd started work at 18.
What did you do there?
Laura turns her head, but Loxby wants to get off the subject.
Languages, but what about you and Tom? What's he like? He's obsessed with the army. Most of them are here. I guess that's a good thing for the army, but he's fine most of the time. Most.
Loxby watches the woman's face.
I think his childhood was bad, but he doesn't like talking about it. He told me a few things once, but they all sounded like he just made them up. I put it down to the fact that no one likes talking about their private lives here, in case they leak secrets. Some people gossip, though, don't they?
Loxby inspects the details of Lara's face muscles to assess telltale signs of lying, but Lara only shakes her head and eats her salad.
Adrian invited me for a drink tonight in the mess. Will you come with me?
Says Loxby.
You know your boss better than I do. I'm just the new girl.
There's a moment when she thinks Lara will decline the invitation, as she doesn't answer immediately. But then the woman says,
All right.
Alexei and Inessa Orlov push the door to the garden of the house in Prague to get some privacy, and start to walk slowly in the sunshine. Maxim is angry, he says to her. He wouldn't speak to me beyond a reticent hello.
He's always been a moral boy,
she says.
Do you remember when he was falsely accused of cheating on a school test when he was 9? He was so angry. He'd never cheat.
What did you tell the children about me? Alexei's eyes blink at her in the light.
What you told me to say? That you'd talked out of turn to a woman, and our lives are at risk as a consequence.
That's not all true, he says. She stops and turns to him. Her eyes have ignited with a fire that he hasn't seen for a decade.
You lied to me.
I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't sleep with anyone. But they do want me dead.
Why did you tell me that story then?
She says. It seemed to make more sense than the truth. It gave me a tangible rationale that I'd simply been trapped by a pair of beautiful eyes and a short skirt.
What did happen?
She says. I've stolen something. Her eyebrows crease.
What?
It's best you don't know. I don't want you to think of me as...
A common thief?
Her eyes show disappointment.
A honey trap has more finesse, does it?
He stops them walking and holds her hand. I did it for us, for a better life. I know you've hated our life in Moscow for years. I can see it's slowly killing your soul. I remember the girl you were when we met. Full of passion, full of ambition. I think I've slowly drained that out of you. Because of my decisions. She wonders if these words are to make him feel better and avoid the truth.
Did you consider that we'll be on the run?
She says.
Did you consider that this has destroyed everything?
He frowns now. And she continues.
It may have been an imperfect life, Alexei, but it was our imperfect life, built up over 30 years. And you threw it all away.
Inside the house, from an upstairs window, Maxim and Lydia watch their parents talking in the garden.
What are they saying?
She says. I can't lip read. He's curt, and his eyes remain on his parents.
I meant, what do you think they're saying? It looks like she's winning.
It's not a battle, says her brother.
It fucking is, Maxim. Don't let them hear you talking like that. You can't order me about. And they're divorcing by the look of them, so they can't tell me to do anything either.
The children stand together in silence and let the seconds tick by as her ardour cools.
Will you look after me?
She turns to him.
If this family breaks up?
It won't. They're fine. This is what adults do.
Will you, though? Look after me? I can't survive on my own.
He takes a breath out and mumbles, Yeah. In the garden, Alexei feels the time is right to tell his wife the next news. "I'm going away, my darling," he says.
When?
"Now."
For how long?
"I don't know. A couple of weeks."
What are you going to do?
"Make our world safe again," he says.
What about me and the children? Are we staying here?
"You'll be moved."
To where?
"I can't tell you."
What's going on, Alexei? Is any of this true, or are you just saying what you think I want to hear?
"In 2 days, someone will come for you. They're friends. They'll look after you."
Because you can't?
Her eyes haven't lost the power of a minute ago.
Tell me something,
she says.
Will all of this end with us living normally again as a family?
Yes, but not in Russia. We can choose where.
Do you need me to do anything apart from wait? We've been a partnership for 31 years, Alexei. Then suddenly it's you on your own, and me in the back seat. When did you decide all this? You never said anything.
The timing wasn't mine.
But the plan is yours. You couldn't have just come up with all this overnight.
I've wanted to get away for a while.
You didn't say,
she repeats, and holds both of his hands. She can feel his warm skin, just like always.
They look closer now,
says Lydia, in the house.
She's still winning. Look at the way he's standing, pleading with her.
Her brother doesn't speak.
We're going to have to do something, Maxime.
What do you mean?
If we wait for these two to sort out their adult stuff, it could be too late. Someone could come and kill us, like Mama said outside the school when she picked us up.
That was propaganda to make you come.
Why would she, though? Mama doesn't lie. Remember when she tried to avoid telling us that Uncle Vanya had died? She is the worst liar ever.
Lydia looks outside.
They're coming back in.
Their mother's voice rolls up through the house, calling the children. In the hallway, their parents are looking solemn.
Are you two divorcing?
Says Lydia, as she steps down off the staircase. Her mother smiles.
No, Lydia. Papa has to go now. He wanted to say goodbye.
Alexei takes a pace towards his two children, and they both watch his face in silence. I'll get us out of this, he says. 2 or 3 weeks, and it'll all be over.
What is it, though, Papa? What will be sorted? Is someone coming to kill us?
He holds his arms out to his daughter, and she cuddles him. I won't let anyone hurt you, Liddy. You'll just have to be a grown-up for a few weeks. Look after Mama. The father's eyes turn to his son. Maxime, I'm proud of you. I know that you know what is the right thing to do.
At least one of us does.
The boy's voice is full of contempt. I had no choice.
I'll never forgive you.
The boy's voice leaches into the air, and, after a moment, his father turns away. Alexei kisses his wife on the cheek and his daughter on the hair. He walks out into the sunlight of the Prague afternoon, and the eyes of his family watch him go. Episode 7. After urgent phone calls this morning from the British Embassy to the regional director of the Czech Postal Service, a bright yellow van of the Česká pošta turns the corner of Helečkova Street in the west of Prague and pulls up at the curb 50 yards from the gates to the house where the Orlov family are staying. Gabby and Ralph Boyd are both wearing the Czech postal uniform of blue shirts with yellow highlights. Off you go, Boyd, she says, putting on a pair of glasses that have video recording built into the frames. Ralph walks to the gates of the house and presses a bell push in the wall. Postal delivery, he says in Czech, when Veronica answers his call. We've got several parcels for this address. We'll bring them in.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
The buzzer sounds and one of the gates clicks open. Ralph waves to Gabby and she drives the van inside. Gabby cannot speak Czech, but she can speak Russian. So Ralph will do most of the talking. In the back of the van are 7 large and heavy parcels wrapped in brown paper and addressed to Alexei Orlov. Inside the brown paper are 7 large metal bars that were pulled out of the storeroom in the basement of the British Embassy this morning. The only criterion for using these as parcels is that they're heavy enough to need 2 people to carry them inside. Gabby and Ralph lift the first parcel and shuffle in through the front door.
"Where do you want them?"
he says to Veronica.
"They're heavy."
The woman directs them down a corridor near the kitchen to a storage room at the back of the house. After 3 parcels, Lydia is in the hallway.
"What are these?"
she says.
"No idea, sorry,"
says Ralph.
"We just deliver them."
The girl looks at the label on one of the parcels as it is carried past her.
"They're for Papa. Can we open them?"
She looks at her mother, who is in the hallway too.
"Not until he's back." "That's 3 weeks,"
says Lydia.
"And we're leaving before then."
When they've delivered 6 parcels, Gabby and Ralph get back in the van for the final trip. "Time for our plan, Ralph," she says. "Take this MT9 tablet. It'll trigger body heat in 5 minutes. She hands him a pink tablet. As the final parcel is brought into the hallway, Ralph drops his end of the package and grabs his chest. He cries out and falls down.
"What is it?"
says Veronica, looking scared. "He has a long history of heart problems," says Gabby in Russian. "He needs his pills." Inessa has heard the kerfuffle too and emerges from the sitting room.
"Bring him in here,"
she says, and they carry the now red and sweating Ralph to one of the sofas and lay him down.
"Where are his pills?"
"In the van. I'll get them," says Gabby, and she runs out, finds the blue MT9 antidote tablets, and hurries back inside. They feed 1 pill into his mouth and lift his head to allow him to swallow it with a glass of water. After that, everyone stands around the sofas watching Ralph. "It'll take about 10 minutes, says Gabby. "Can I use your bathroom?" She is directed to the first floor while the family stays with Ralph. At the top of the stairs, Gabby reaches into a pocket of her cargo trousers and pulls out a handful of tiny black cubes, only 6 millimeters in each direction. These are the new miniature B-22 cameras that have only just been developed by MI6 Tech Branch. They will connect automatically to the encrypted satellite network used by the security services as soon as Gabby deploys them. One side of each cube has a sticky pad. She peels off the cover and attaches a camera high up in the corridor, then swiftly deploys another 5 in the rooms along the first floor. Gabby flushes the toilet and returns to the sofa downstairs. Ralph's temperature has dropped now, and he's talking to Veronica, saying he's feeling better. "We'd better be going," says Gabby. In the van, she says, "We need to monitor this building continually from now on, Ralph. If Orlov comes back, we'll catch him."
"Why do you think he ran?"
says Ralph. "I have a gut feeling that this is a diversion for something. But a diversion from what? I don't know yet." Lydia watches the postal van drive out through the gates. Her phone buzzes in the back pocket of her jeans. When she interrogates the screen, it's a message from an unknown number inviting her to meet. The words say that it's the boy she met 2 days ago, called Radek. Back in Moscow, she would have said yes, immediately. But she's worried now that all of this with her father has made her life more dangerous. She needs to be sure this really is Radek, and not someone trying to kidnap her.
"What did I buy from the shop when we met each other the other day?"
she types. When the reply comes back with the correct answer, she asks another 2, and all are answered correctly. She lies to her mother about walking in the garden and slips out of a back gate that she had discovered that leads through to Kinsky Gardens and up the wooded slope beyond. Lydia walks through the trees, then through the Lotskovitska Zaradar Gardens. She checks her phone map and walks on further up the hill, and into the cobbled streets of red-roofed houses that surround Prague Castle. The square in front of the castle's Baroque frontage has a scattering of tourists taking pictures of themselves and the architecture when she arrives. She sees Radek in the far corner. He raises his arm self-consciously and waves to her.
"Let's get away from these people,"
he says before anything else, and he leads her out to a wilder green area called the Hirschgraben. They find a place at the edge of a clearing near the trees, and Radek produces cans of drink. They sit in the sun in silence for a moment. Then he suddenly says,
"My friend's died. Not into small talk, are you?"
Lydia smiles at her joke, but she's not sure he sees the humour, and she feels she wants to placate him.
"What happened?"
Radek swigs from his can of drink.
"He was a year older than me and left school as soon as he could. He was poor as a kid. His dad walked out when he was 10. His mom never had any cash. He reckoned she pulled tricks for extra." "What are tricks?" "She was a prostitute."
Lydia realizes her privileged childhood has been protected from all of this side of life. Radek continues.
"He and his maid started stealing from shops. What did they steal? Little stuff at first. Then they got more confident and started breaking into shops, and even warehouses. They used to take beer and wine, cases of it, then resell it back to clubs. It turned out there was a gang already doing that, and one night they got attacked. They were beaten up badly. The other gang was fully grown men, not teenagers." "Is that how he died?"
says Lydia.
"No."
Radek looks at her for the briefest moment, and she realizes that he hasn't been looking at her much since he's been talking.
"How did he die then?" "The other gang said they'd allow them to carry on stealing alcohol, but they'd have to be available to help out with other jobs. Extra manpower and stuff, you know."
To Lydia, this just seems like a story from a film, and she wishes her life had stayed the same, and that they'd never left Moscow.
"Last week they made him shoot someone."
Lydia's eyes widen.
"A woman at the airport. They gave him a rifle he'd never used before,"
continues Radek.
"He went out into the countryside and spent 2 days practicing." "What happened?" "She killed him. The woman. She made him crash his car. The funeral's today. You want to come?" "No."
She turns up her nose.
"You don't invite people to funerals anyway, my papa said." "I'd like you to come."
Radek keeps looking at her now, and she tries to look away, but flicks her eyes back to him.
"It's 3 this afternoon. We can go on the metro. It's near Flora Station. You know it?" "Of course not,"
she says spikily.
"I've only been here 2 seconds. Come with me. You've got nothing better to do. You know nothing about me."
She's getting frustrated with his attitude.
"Tell me about you then,"
he says.
"You got a boyfriend in Moscow?" "No." "Why?" "I don't know, just haven't. It's not essential." "I bet you're the best girl in exams, aren't you?"
he says.
"Yeah, I am. I'm going to go to the Sorbonne, so I need to be." "You said you wanted to be a billionaire. How do you think you're going to do that if you don't take school seriously?" "Milos did okay,"
says Radek.
"Who?" "My friend, who we're going to see buried." "Crime, you mean? You're an idiot if you think you'll be a billionaire from that. You'll be dead like your friend." "Why don't you run away with me?" "What you talking about?"
Her eyes squint, but she can't tell if it's the sun or him that made her do it.
We could go to Paris, you could go to the Sorbonne, and I could be a pickpocket in the Louvre. Why would I throw my life away? I'd never do that. That's not what my papa expects of me.
Radek drinks again.
Dreams, Lydia, he says. It's what keeps us all going.
He turns his kind eyes to her.
You're coming to the funeral, then?
She looks at him. There's a pause while her mind considers. Then she says,
Okay, I'll come with you.
Tom looks at the clock on the wall of the work area he shares with 3 other captains inside the tactical headquarters of the Royal Tank Regiment at Tidworth.
It's 6, I'm off,
he says. The only other man in the room is Captain Rob Lee.
You should be drinking in the mess more often, Tom. People notice. The adjutant mentioned that he never saw you. It's a black mark. I've got a lot on, mate, says Tom. Couple of weeks, I'll be there more.
He walks to the door and calls after him. Don't say I didn't warn you. Tom's Toyota is parked at the far end of the parking spaces, away from the main office block. He drops down into the seat, then noses the green sports car through the security barriers, and the sergeant on duty salutes as he passes. He turns south and drives down the A338 through the village of Shipton Bellinger, then on towards Porton Down, near the UK's Military Weapons Research Facility. As Tom rounds the bend in the road, a man steps out into his path 50 yards ahead. Tom slows and swears under his breath, thinking the guy has had one too many at the local pub. The man stops in the middle of the road and turns to face Tom's car. Only then does he see that it's Major Illin. He glides to a halt and Illin walks over to his open window.
There's a pub down the road, says the Major. Come and have a drink.
After 5 minutes they reach the old railway hotel in Porton. Illin buys them both lager, and they walk into the garden that has a series of picnic benches with umbrellas to create shadows.
Adric Vesna told me you were being difficult when he saw you the other day.
Illin drinks his beer and keeps his eyes on Tom.
Not at all, but there are certain practical details that I need to think about. The Challenger 4 is a heavy vehicle with 1,000 separate working parts. We're not just going to drive it into a barn and pull it to bits. I told Vesna it has satellite tracking on it. It's not like the Cold War where you can make assets disappear. Every battlefield is monitored in every detail, and there's a constant stream of data that flows back to Ops HQ.
Vesna and his team are the best tank engineers in Russia, Dmitri. They can do it.
It has nothing to do with Vesna's skills. I'll be watched. The tank will be watched. We need to find a way through all of that. Then there's the issue of the crew.
They'll need to be killed, says Illin.
I'm not going to do that.
Why? Tom didn't notice how lifeless Illin's face is as he talks.
They're my men. I couldn't do that.
Now, Tom's voice rises in the July air. The other option is that you disappear with the tank and leave your life here in England.
What?
Tom's face screws up, and he can feel his frustration growing into anger. We all have choices, Dmitri.
Let's get a few things clear,
says Tom, dropping his voice so they can't be overheard.
I'm not killing my men, and I'm not leaving England. I'm going to live my life with Lara, and we're going to have our baby next year.
That's not why you were sent here, Dmitri.
Things change.
Tom gulps back a large mouthful of his lager. There's a moment of dead air between the men. Then Illin speaks. His voice, too, is quieter now.
Did you know that Lara is having a drink in the mess tonight? With her boss. She's staying late again.
Tom smiles in contempt.
She's a pretty girl.
Illin raises his eyebrows.
My wife is carrying my baby, Illin. She is free to go and have a drink with people that she works with. Is this a puerile exercise to destabilize my world? It won't work. I'm not the boy from Moscow any longer. Dmitri Belyakov is dead.
I'm not going to report you yet, says Ilin. Tom scoffs.
I'm made of sterner stuff than you think, Major. I realize I was helped to come here and live here in England. I'm grateful. My life is better than it would have been as an orphan in Moscow. I'm happy to repay that debt by helping to steal this tank.
He intentionally pauses to make Ilin look at him.
But then it ends. From then on, I'm just Tom Beecham.
We may want you in the future. Tom's voice remains as flat as water, and his demeanour is calm.
No, Ilin. I decline your offer. You'll get the challenge of 4. Then I never want to see you again.
How can we trust you, Dmitri, when you talk like this?
You have my word as a British Army officer.
A smile highlights the edges of Tom's eyes. Major Ilin, however, is not going to stop. I was reading an article about how new babies survive car accidents, he says. They relax, apparently, so just bounce around inside the vehicle, while everyone else tenses as the impact happens, and that is what kills the adults. Tom is silent. Not when they're inside the womb, though. Tom empties his glass, stands up, and bends so his mouth is right up against Ilin's ear.
I'll kill you for this, Major. That's a promise.
Then he turns and walks back to his car.